out of selling shirts, wholesale shirts to different organizations. And they didn't do anything other than make the sale, send the information to shirt masters, have us do the production, and and then they'd collect most of the money essentially for being a middleman. So now I'm that middleman. So it's just it very much is a side thing. I don't work that hard at it, but I got some nice clients, and it's kind of fun to keep that going too. So I've got anyway a few principles that I wanted to share. Now the entrepreneurial class got 18 of these earlier. I'm just going to share 4 of them here. What I think are probably the 4 most important ones. Lesson 1, I would say, is don't do anything halfway. We could have built Chucksters a lot cheaper. We could have skimped on landscaping or made it a lot smaller, and might have saved a lot of money up front. But I don't think we'd have those hour-long lines if we hadn't gone big. If we had built it, again, halfway and had some moderate success, it's likely someone else would see that and build it a bigger, better one, and then everybody would go there. So if we did it big, did it right the first time, probably nobody's going to come in and want to try to beat that. So anyway, whatever you do, wherever you go from here, go big. Give it your best shot. Do it all the way. Number 2, listen to customers and listen to people that are smarter than you. For instance, at all my locations, we're adding attractions that we know people want. Like I might want to add bumper boats to Chucksters because I think that would be fun, but it's more important what the guests think. So we're constantly doing, giving surveys or doing focus groups, and focus groups have said, no, nobody wants bumper boats, so we're not going to put those in, and that probably saved a lot of money. So rather than kind of force, my interests on society, I just, I'm trying to fill a void and meet it, find out what the need is and fill it. So in Concord, where I live, there's a woman that's passionate about rock climbing, and she's building a very elaborate indoor climbing gym. Very expensive deal. She's banking on everybody in Concord being as passionate about rock climbing as she is. I'm curious what's going to happen there, because I don't think she's doing something that has mass appeal for the scale she's building. But it is great when your passions and your interests line up with what the need is or where the void is, but that doesn't always happen. So make sure you know whatever you're doing, that's what people want, not just what you want to do. The third thing, and I try to promote this everywhere I go because it's a foreign concept to most people, is to use bartering, trade for stuff as much as you can. I've been doing this for a long time, starting with shirt masters. I've traded for things like ski lift tickets, golf course greens fees, restaurant meals, chiropractic care, lawn mowing, plowing, bigger things like we got a brand new boat, a lot of resort vacations, hot air balloon rides, got my pilot's license on trade, rented planes for a long time on trade. So by bartering, it worked out great with shirts because the markup is so good, but it let us get things that we wouldn't pay for otherwise or couldn't afford otherwise. So think about think about what you can do for someone and trade for. Basically, trading your time for a product, product or service. Now, a lot of people don't do this. It's either because they don't think of it, or they're too scared to try, or they just don't think it's something they can do. But the worst that can happen is if you propose a trade to somebody is they'll say no, but they're not going to get mad. Right? So think about it. Everybody here has skills and things that they can offer for somebody. So just ask. I mean, it's certainly worked out good for me, and it really can be a win-win for, that's the whole point of everything, is to make everybody happy and meet everybody's needs. But if you can do that through trade or bartering, do it. And fourth, I want to say be generous. We give away a lot of free tickets. We host a lot of fundraisers. We give away a lot of money, a lot of time to different organizations that can use the help. It's fun to use what we have to really make a difference in our community and in the kingdom. And it seems like the more I give away, the more God seems to bless my businesses. And so I'm not going to stop. And I encourage you, don't wait till you're rich before you start giving back. Just be generous. Now I want to get into kind of some personal recommendations, and this might be a little bit different. I'm going to go out on a limb a little bit here. This might be some different stuff, but I got a microphone here and nobody's taking it from me, so I'm just going to say what I want to say here. Whatever your level of success, don't ever take it for granted or fail to recognize that God is in control. I'm going to be really transparent here about some things. I had a string of some very profitable years for a long time, and money was not an issue for a long time. We traveled a lot. We had a pretty extravagant lifestyle. We were generous, but we were giving out of our abundance. But deep down, I think I felt like I was trying to be self-sufficient. Like instead of trusting God to provide, like the guy in the Bible that had his barns were full of food. That was kind of me. In fact, 4 years ago when we sold Shirtmasters, it felt like winning the lottery. I was in a position at age 39. I didn't have to work again ever. And as recently as even 2 years ago, we were planning to buy an airplane and looking at waterfront homes and things like that. So I had a mindset of everything I owned would automatically turn to gold, and really felt entitled to that. But let me tell you about what can happen, even if you think you've got it all figured out. I'm just going to tell you about how this past year went for me financially. We've got a daughter with a disability that has some pretty severe needs. To access the care that she needed, long story short, we had to hire an attorney essentially for full-time for about a year, if you can imagine what that costs, plus a bunch of an advocate and some different specialists to help with the case, just to help us access the help she needed, and that was very expensive. Now, I'm a planner, and spending that kind of money wasn't part of my plan. So that was a big hit. Now, the other things that happened this year, weather was absolutely horrible on weekends for April, May, and September. We basically had almost no business for 3 months because of the weather. Revenue was cut, way below half what it should have been for all 3 of those months. The economy, of course, is poor, and I think it's kept people from spending as much money as they normally would at Chucksters, and it's kept a lot of people away from Jay's. Jenny was kind of the last year that times were still good in the economy, and that area is really dependent on tourists, mostly from Massachusetts. Well, with the bad economy, the Mass people are staying home, so there's nobody around. It's pretty quiet around there. So Jay's didn't have a great year. There was a fire at a Christian conference center adjacent to Jay's where 47 homes burned, and so that's 47 homes worth of people that could walk to Jay's that weren't there. The Lakes region, this wasn't just this year, this happened over the last few years, but I didn't see it coming. It really transformed from a vacation destination to more of second homes. In other words, all the hotels and campgrounds turned almost immediately into condos, and so instead of 100,000 new people coming in every week, the people that are going to spend money on mini golf and ice cream, now they're gone, but now the people that are there are, they're people from Mass that either come up every weekend or come up for 3 weeks. They might visit Jay's once, but not every week like when there were a lot of tourists. We had a lot of costly mistakes that had to be fixed at both Chucksters locations. Our rail system at the go-kart track in New Hampshire was failing in spots, and we had to make some big renovations just to keep that usable. That's no fun spending money on stuff just to keep you going. And in the Vesta one here, we had some bad engineering work done that required us to have to fix a big drainage issue that's actually being done right now. So that took a lot of money to fix both those problems. Speaking of bartering, for a while I had a deal worked out with the local car dealership to provide us a couple SUVs in exchange for being the official dealership of Chucksters. So we were driving around really nice brand new cars with the logo all decked out at no charge. Well, a month ago the dealership stopped all those kind of sponsorships for everybody, including us. So now I had, so a month ago I had to go out and buy a car. The floods, I don't know if anybody is from the Binghamton area or even heard about the floods that happened in Binghamton back in September right after Katrina. That devastated that area, absolutely clobbered it. It's amazing how destructive that was. But Chucksters didn't have any damage, but we were essentially closed for a month because everybody in that entire area was either if they were even in their home with power, they were helping a neighbor, clear out their basement or waiting to get power back or something. So, obviously mini golf is the last thing on people's minds. So we lost a whole month's worth of revenue there. And last weekend, okay, it's still October. We had, in New Hampshire Truckers, we had some very large groups booked for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Would have been some great icing on the cake to this season. We got 22 inches of snow on Saturday. That doesn't happen in October. So everything that could have gone wrong this year did. So we took a beating financially. So here I am, having to trust God again for the first time in a long time, and we've had to make some adjustments. We sold our boat. We had a really nice boat that we used to share with other people, but I think to me, I wanted to get rid of that first because I think to me it was kind of a symbol of our wealth in that, well, there's a TV ad that you won't remember, but there's a guy on a boat surrounded by his friends on his cell phone going, "Don't worry, I got all my guys on it." And then he hangs up and guns the boat, and I thought that was kind of cool or whatever, but then at one point my wife was like, "That's you, you're that guy." And so the boat for us was really kind of like that. So, but that's gone now. And I'm okay with that. We've got a 10,000 square foot home that's for sale now. We're going to try to, so we're trying to downsize in this horrible real estate market. We had to dip into some of our, we had college plans set up for our kids that, we had to dip into that, and some part of my IRA, we had to dip into both of those to get through this year. Had some neat opportunities that came up in business this year that I had to pass on because we didn't have the cash. So really, it's the first time in a long time where we've had to say no to some activities because we can't afford them. So we're not destitute, but this year has been a great lesson in stewardship and trust and humility. Now I plan to work hard to get back on top, but I think this time I'm going to have a little bit different focus and really try to keep God first. I'm going to try to live by this verse that I'm sure you've heard. Seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. So marinate on that verse for a while, because that's what I'm going to be doing. Now, I'm going to go on to just a couple pieces of practical advice, and then I'll see if there's any questions. But so definitely, definitely strive to be successful. That's good. You should go for it. That's scriptural too. Money's not the root of all evil, but the love of it is. So just keep in mind a couple things here. Don't strive to be self-sufficient. Be humble. Remember that God wants your attention. And spend time doing things that have eternal value. Keep your overhead low. I wish I see a lot of college students graduate and they don't quite get this one. They finance the new car. They get some debt. They get a home or an apartment that's maybe more than they should have. But if you keep your monthly obligations minimized, keep your standard of living well below what you can afford, just in case you got some blips in your income, because you never know when that's coming. Don't live paycheck to paycheck. I see too many people doing that. Be content with what you have. My dad's probably the best example of this that I can think of. He's a retired pastor over in Vestal. I don't know if there's any hockey fans here, but he's the chaplain for the American Hockey League Binghamton Senators. And I sat in on a chapel with him recently where he talked to some of these hockey players, many of which have $1 million salaries. And he got their attention when he said, "I can afford anything I want." And these guys, that have the money were like, "Wow, you can afford anything you want?" And of course, that got their attention. But what he means is his wants he has a check on his wants. He literally doesn't want things he can't afford. And, that's easier said than done. So really, be content with what you have. And don't waste time. Set clear goals. For everything that you do. Clarify the win, like Andy Stanley would say. What does a win look like? And then, constantly be asking yourself, is what I'm doing right now helping accomplish that goal? And let God in on setting your goals. Make sure your to-do list is His and not yours. So finally, I'm going to leave you with some advice that I got from a student that graduated from here in 1988, Greg Lang. He's a great friend of mine. He's now a pastor in Vancouver. But I visited him recently and got caught up. But he had given me a book when he graduated in 1988. He said, think big, dream, pray, then act. And so that's good advice from him.